Want to boycott the one player, one, looking right at you, Angel Reese and Asia Wilson.
The WNBA is experiencing a seismic shift, and at the heart of it is a brewing conflict that's tearing its fan base apart. On one side, you have a faction of supporters, allegedly backed by players like Aja Wilson and Angel Reese, calling for a boycott of Indiana Fever games featuring rookie sensation Caitlin Clark. On the other, you have the millions of new fans Clark has brought to women's basketball, bewildered by the hostility directed at a player who's undeniably fueling the league's unprecedented growth. This isn't just a disagreement over screen time or popularity. It's a full-blown civil war exposing deep-seated tensions about fame, jealousy, and the future of the sport. Let's start with the numbers, because they tell a story that's hard to ignore. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever are scheduled for 41 nationally televised games this season, more than any other player in the WNBA, and astonishingly, more than any NBA player as well. LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Stephen Curry, household names in men's basketball, are getting less national TV exposure than a WNBA rookie. This is a historic anomaly, a testament to Clark's meteoric rise and the massive audience she commands. Fever games are selling out arenas, ESPN is airing more WNBA content than ever before, and social media is ablaze with chatter about women's basketball. The league has never been more popular, with viewership numbers soaring from an average of 200,000 per game pre-Clark to over 1 million now, a five-fold increase that translates directly into revenue. Yet, instead of celebrating this surge, some players and their supporters seem intent on tearing it down. The boycott movement, though spearheaded by a vocal minority, is gaining traction in certain corners of the WNBA ecosystem. These fans, often longtime advocates who stuck with the league through its lean years, are urging others to skip Fever games, illegally stream them, or avoid watching altogether when Clark takes the court. Their stated goal? To reduce viewership numbers and, by extension, diminish Clark's prominence. They're furious about her 41 televised games, claiming it's unfair favoritism, and they're willing to tank the league's momentum to prove a point. It's a bewildering stance, especially when you consider what's at stake. Follow the money, and the absurdity becomes even clearer. Professional sports thrive on viewership. It's the lifeblood of media rights deals, those massive contracts networks like ESPN, ABC, and CBS sign to broadcast games. The more eyeballs on the screen, the more advertising dollars flow in, and the more networks are willing to pay for broadcasting rights. Right now, the WNBA is renegotiating its next media rights deal, and Clark's million-plus viewer games are driving up the league's value. Before her arrival, the WNBA struggled to break 200,000 viewers per game. Now, with her pulling in 5 to 10 times that, networks are seeing dollar signs, and they're prepared to shell out significantly more than they did in the past. That influx of cash doesn't just benefit Clark, it raises the salary cap and minimum salaries for every player in the league. Veterans who've toiled for years on modest contracts could finally see the kind of paychecks they've long deserved. This is the rising tide that lifts all boats. So why would anyone want to sabotage that? The boycott's proponents argue it's about fairness. Clark, they say, is getting too much attention at the expense of other talented players. But their actions contradict their supposed principles. For years, these same fans have demanded better pay and recognition for WNBA athletes, highlighting the glaring salary gap between male and female basketball players. Now, with Clark delivering the viewership that could help close that gap, they're trying to undo it. It's not just petty, it's financially destructive. Lower viewership doesn't just hurt Clark, it jeopardizes the entire league's economic future. Fewer eyes on games means smaller media deals, which mean less money for everyone. It's a self-inflicted wound disguised as a moral stand. This isn't about basketball strategy or on-court performance. Clark's game isn't perfect. Analysts have pointed out her defensive shortcomings and her occasionally dramatic reactions to referee calls. But those critiques are fair game in sports discourse. What's happening here goes beyond that. It's personal. The boycott reveals an uncomfortable truth. Some longtime WNBA supporters would rather see the league shrink than watch Clark succeed. They're gatekeepers, clutching tightly to a niche community they've nurtured for years, now threatened by the flood of newcomers she's brought in. It's a pattern we've seen before in music, comics, gaming, subcultures that explode into the mainstream, leaving their original fans feeling displaced. These activist fans, as they've been called, are a small but loud minority. They don't represent the broader public or even most WNBA supporters, but their influence is amplified by their connections. Some have ties to players, teams, and media figures within the league. They've built their identity around being the diehards who stuck around when no one else cared, and now they're watching millions of new fans, many of whom never tuned in before Clark, reshape the conversation. It's not just about her 41 games, it's about who controls the narrative. For years, this vocal group held sway over WNBA discussions, their voices dominant in a small, tight-knit community. Clark's arrival has upended that, and they're lashing out. There's another layer to this that's harder to ignore, though it's rarely said aloud. Race and identity play a role. Clark, a straight white woman, has become the face of this WNBA renaissance, and that shift rubs some longtime fans the wrong way. The league's traditional fan base has often prided itself on its diversity and its support for players who don't fit the mainstream mold. Clark's sudden stardom, complete with her record-breaking college career at Iowa, and her wholesome, marketable persona, feels to them like a departure from that ethos. It's not that she's untalented, her scoring ability and court vision are undeniable, but her rapid ascent, fueled by a predominantly new, often white audience, has sparked resentment among those who feel the league's soul is being diluted. That resentment manifests in strange ways. Critics of the boycott point out its irony. These fans claim to love the WNBA, yet they're willing to harm its growth to spite one player. They label Clark's supporters fake fans for focusing on her alone, ignoring the fact that her presence boosts attendance, merchandise sales, and sponsorships league-wide. Meanwhile, their own actions threaten the financial stability of every team. It's a classic case of cutting off your nose to spite your face. If they succeed in tanking Fever viewership, they won't just dim Clark's spotlight, they'll shrink the pie for everyone. The psychological dynamics here are fascinating. For decades, WNBA insiders, fans, media, and even some players cultivated a league that flew under the radar. They built expertise, fostered communities, and established themselves as authorities in a space the mainstream largely ignored. Then Clark arrived, a rookie who overnight drew millions of eyes that veterans like Aja Wilson or Breanna Stewart, despite their brilliance, never captured. That kind of instant success stings. It's not hard to see why jealousy might bubble up, especially among media figures who've spent years grinding for recognition, only to be overshadowed by a 22-year-old phenom. But the double standards are glaring. Male athletes like LeBron James or Patrick Mahomes exhibit the same on-court flair or referee frustrations as Clark, yet they rarely face the same scrutiny. Her every move is dissected. Her body language, her media coverage, her fan base, while similar behaviors in men's sports are shrugged off as part of the game. The goalposts keep shifting too. First, doubters said she couldn't dominate college ball. She did. Then they insisted the WNBA's physicality would overwhelm her. She adapted. Now that she's thriving, the complaint is that she's overhyped. It's a no-win situation, and it exposes a deeper unease about how success is judged in women's sports. The boycott's logic collapses under scrutiny. Its supporters say they're protecting the league's integrity, but they're undermining its foundation. They want better conditions for players, yet they're fighting the mechanism that delivers them. Meanwhile, Clark's impact is undeniable. Higher attendance, sellout crowds, surging jersey sales, not just for the Fever, but across the league. This isn't about one player hogging the spotlight, it's about a rising tide lifting the entire sport. WNBA executives and players see it. They're thrilled about the sponsorship deals and salary boosts this growth promises. The league has fought for decades to reach this moment, and now it's here. Imagine if NFL fans boycotted Patrick Mahomes games or NBA viewers shunned LeBron James. It's unthinkable, yet in the WNBA, a small faction is trying to do just that. To its biggest draw, they're not fans of basketball, they're fans of a version of the WNBA that no longer exists, one they could claim as their own. Clark's success doesn't diminish the league's history or the legends who built it. It amplifies them, bringing their stories to a wider audience. This clash isn't just about her, it's about two visions colliding. One sees the WNBA as a niche community with a specific culture. The other sees it as a mainstream juggernaut, welcoming millions who don't know the backstory but want in any way.